I was debating where to go next. Well, let's just go in order, why not? Green had suspected Redstone Stable of sending him that letter. Apparently, Stable owned a barber shop in the financial district. I figured there would be no harm in asking Stable about it directly. I waved down a taxicab and was on my way. I thought I might talk with the driver to pass the time. Fine, we'll talk. I like the music. We began talking about his home state of Colorado.
Lovely land, he said. Truly blessed with clean air and wildflowers.
I asked about the countryside.
In this city, there's always a fog and a dampness. A cold, brutal dampness. Sure, the Rockies can get cold, but the sun shines most days. Working outside in winter, you'll drip sweat even in shirt sleeves.
I miss
it, he said. But there's things to like about San Francisco, too. Better politics, for one.
You think city politics are above board? I asked.
No politicians are clean, but at least they're not bigots. Colorado is ruled by clan puppets, and those goons are turning to federal politics now.
He shook his head.
A day of reckoning is coming with the KKK in our politics. I just hope sanity wins.
I hope so too, I said. We came to my destination, and I stepped out of the taxi cab. The barber shop was down an alley in the financial district, opposite the red brick National Bank. How do I... Oh. The small bell above the door twinkled as I walked in. Hello? There's a tall man in the center of the room. He was wearing a flamboyant pink suit. Oh, hell yeah! Oh, I want one. Tailored to accentuate his stature with a maroon bow tie and pocket square. I gathered this was Redstone Stable. Let's talk to him. The man turned to face me. He grinned. His squinting blue eyes made the smile feel genuine. I must apologize, he said. We do not take walk-ins. I studied his face. The wrinkles around his eyes indicated he was at least 40, but the rest of his skin was clean and smooth. He wore no hat and shaved his head completely bald. When combined with his smooth skin, it hinted at the look of a small turtle. His pink suit and maroon accessories only added to his eccentricity. He smiled and said, "How foolish of me. Of course, you are here for information, Miss Malone." I noted his smooth voice. He paced his words deliberately with a consistent whiff of satire. Though his accent was American, he didn't use the modern slang, which gave him a classical candor. "Well, what did you want to know?" he asked with genuine curiosity in his voice. Yeah, why not? What do you know about Green's past? I questioned. Only that he has constantly skirted the law. I nodded. Well, Miss Malone, he smiled. Will there be anything else? Oh, okay, so I guess... Do you have cat food? No. Know anything about this? Green claims you bootleg, I stated bluntly. His grin didn't waver in his response. Would you hang me on Connor Green's claims? I may partake in some gambling, but I have a talent for it, and it is nothing illegal, I assure you. And you know nothing about Green's own bootlegging? I asked. Stable shook his head. I doubted he would ever answer a question straight. Same. Oh, so that chime. This is what the game wanted me to do. I pulled Green's note from my pocket and showed it to him, but didn't let him hold it. Green tells me this letter is from you, I told him. He doesn't like the threats. Stable lowered his head to study the note, then chuckled. His knowing grin returned to his face. "But this is a Black Hand letter," he said, flourishing a hand toward the paper. "Have you ever seen a Black Hand letter, Miss Malone?" I confessed I hadn't. "Exactly," he said. "You should ring your friend Shipman at the station and ask what it means." Sam Shipman had been one of my uncle's regular partners in the vice rackets. I wondered what Shipman could have to do with Green's case. Stable seemed to think that he had a lot to do with it. I pocketed the letter and continued with my questions, but I made a note to stop by police headquarters and see Shipman. "Well, Miss Malone," he smiled. "Will there be anything else?" "Don't!" "Nothing now," I said, and turned back toward the barber shop. The front door had a bell on top of it. Okay, let's visit the Tin Spoon. The Tin Spoon Lounge was a speakeasy in North Beach run by Tiny Paul, the gangster that Green had put in with. I'd never been there. The mob keeps a tight lip on their own houses, but I figured it would be a good place to chase Green's bootlegging story. It's my car noise. Do you like it? Okay, yeah, that was nice last time. Let's talk again.
Went to the Palace of the Fine Arts.
It's the same guy, the driver said when I asked about his weekend.
They were holding a guest gallery. My girl is a big Georgia O'Keeffe fan. Myself, I don't get all this new stuff. What's so hard about painting some wavy lines?
I opened the cab door in front of a North Beach warehouse with a wooden sign. The sign's text was too worn for me to decipher any of its English, but a small gray spoon was still visible below the letters. I rapped my knuckles twice over the large metal door. The panel just above my head slid sideways to reveal a pair of eyebrows. The room beyond was dimly lit, so I couldn't see much of their surrounding face. I cleared my throat, then a rumbling voice emerged from behind the door.
"Fill your cups, no feel..."
Why am I giving him an orc voice? Oh yeah, let's just make him a straight-up demon.
"Fill your cups, feel no distress, at all our great thoughts sink shrinking less."
I looked at the eyes, still unmoving. I understood. The doorman wanted a password. I thought I might have something in my notes that could help. I don't. I stayed silent. After a beat, the small window slid shut with a thud. Prohibition was a joke in San Francisco, and most speakeasies would let just about anyone through the door. But the mob ones weren't as relaxed with their rules. I knew I wouldn't enter until I said the correct response. I wondered who I could ask about a speakeasy password. I bet, Mrs. Green, because she's the singer there. Well, that's her house next, so let's go. Green's house might contain more clues about his past, or some reason a threatening letter would come his way. And if I got lucky, Mrs. Green would be there to pump with more questions. The Green's apartment was a section of an old Western Addition mansion. The owners had divided it for struggling families to rent after the 1906 fire. Once downtown had been rebuilt, people of means moved out of the area. Recent immigrants, mainly from Japan, rented most of the apartments in this part of town. I knocked on the front door, but didn't get a response. The latch was undone, so I pushed it open and stepped into the room. The apartment had a dense cloud of black smoke hanging from the ceiling. Apparently, that window wasn't opened much, and either Mr. or Mrs. Green smoked heavily. The gray trench coat was hanging in the doorway. It certainly looked identical to Lewis's. I searched the pockets and found no identifying marks. It might have been a different jacket, but its recent appearance was off-putting. Oh, your dead plant! I can't keep him alive either. A wilting plant was on the furthest table from the door. I could never keep plants alive either. Same. Even as the petals fell, they were still a vibrant yellow. She tilted her head to the side, giggled, then let it loll back into place. I shook her lightly, and she moaned again, but said nothing more. Anything else I can snoop through? Okay then. Guess I'll leave. The frame was just warped enough to prevent the front door from completely closing. Oh right, we have the dude we need to talk to here. I always dreaded visiting the PD after I'd flown the coop, and I was in no mood right now. But if Shipman did know something about Green's note, I had to chase it up. I stepped in the taxi and rocked into a comfortable position on the back seat. I thought about having a chat with the driver.
Some weather, ain't it?
He said with a southern drawl. It's San Francisco, I replied. Expect fog and bring a jacket.
Wish I'd known that coming from Missouri. Would've stayed on the river.
There was always recent transplants to this city. Why'd you come here to San Francisco? I asked.
Oh, you know, had dreams of adventure. Dreams that my small town couldn't fill. Thought of myself as a regular Mark Twain.
But I recently heard a
quote of his. The coldest winter I ever spent was a summer in France in Frisco.
He laughed to himself. We talked for a while about San Francisco, its overcast climate, its treacherous hills, and its lush green parks. Eventually, we rolled into my destination. But before leaving, I asked, did Mark Twain really say that about San Francisco? The driver smiled and shook his head.
Nope, but if I tell you he did, at least you'll remember a quote that's mine.
I chuckled and left the taxicab. The North Beach Station was SFPD headquarters and poetically baptized the Hall of Justice. The building dominated the corner of Kearny and Washington in Chinatown. Rebuilt after the 1906 earthquake, I thought it looked even more sour than it had before. I strode to the young bobbed girl behind the large oak desk. She must have been new because we shared no recognition of one another. I asked for Shipman, and she motioned me to a chair and pressed a pearl button. I sat down, and she disappeared through a frosted door. I rolled another cigarette to pass the time. Between puffs, I thought about the shape of my smoke plumes. I'm a regular old Gandalf, letting my mind wander through abstraction. Whenever a thought about the department found its way into my head, I closed my eyes and drifted back into meditation. Most of the SFPD refused to give any thought to a female private detective. I was determined to return their courtesy. It wasn't long before Shipman walked out of the frosted door. Samuel Shipman smiled when he saw me. He had always been helpful to me in my days on the force, working closely with Lewis. He had acquired the habit of bouncing theories my way. He judged officers purely on results, and because of that, he was one of my few fans. We exchanged brief pleasantries before he said, "Wouldn't come here for glad handling?" He had a habit of removing the subject from his sentences. "What needs doing? What needs doing?" Yeah, we'll give him a big heroic voice. I explained my case to him. He scoffed when I mentioned Connor Green. "Working for that pinhead. Got a good mind to run him up a flagpole." I just need to know about this letter. I handed him the note Green had given me and explained its context. After looking it over, his little animation, creepily jerked around. Shipman tried to stifle a laugh. "Complete bunk," he said. "See this symbol in the corner? Mark of the Black Hand Gang. Except Black Hand letters are always ransom letters, not threats. No foothold on this coast anyhow. Never been one in California." "So the letter's a fake?" Shipman nodded. "Someone trying to intimidate the Black Hand." I grunted a sigh and noted what he'd said. Don't know if Green is getting one over you," he said, "or if someone else is pulling Green's leg, but having more dirt on the man couldn't hurt, especially if he's your client." I agreed. I had been trying to dig through his past. You got any bunk on him? Shipman shook his head.
No from Oakland is all I know. But I can do some more digging.
I thanked him for that. Who's talking? Under a pile of ice, though.
Under a pile of ice, though. Might take me a while. Why don't I telephone when I find something?
I had no office where I could receive messages, but I dreaded returning to the station. I told him to call the Southern Coffee. I keep adding the, like I'm from the fucking 1960s. I told him to call Southern Coffee. Just leave anything with Franklin Conway. I instructed. He said that was alright. We traded goodbyes, and I went back to the station's entrance. The entrance. Now I knew the letter was fake, and Shipman was looking into Green's past for me. I just needed to chase up the bootlegging lead. I stepped into the street and thought about where to go. I was debating where to go next. Maybe he'll give me a haircut. I've gotten better at cutting my own hair, by the way. I know there's a whole debacle with me, with me getting a piece of hair stuck in my throat for like a day and a half. But since then, I've gotten, if I say so myself, pretty good at chopping off my locks. How dare you be a young man from Tennessee? No, you're like ancient. Hey, Stable, what's up? I think he's my favorite. I like his slimy, suave kind of character. Well, Miss Malone, he smiled. Would there be anything else? Oh, I guess not. Oh, I have goals! I've been totally ignoring that. Oh, hey, what's the password to the tin spoon? Can I just get that from you? Oh, never mind. Statements? Oh, right, let's tell him that it's fake. Do you care that it's fake? Shipman tells me Green's letter is a forgery, I said to Stable. He grinned wide. Yes, Miss Malone, that I told you, but I am curious whether Mr. Green himself knows it. Stable still would admit no knowledge of the note. Oh, what was that face he was making? His nose is like all scrunched up. He wouldn't know about that. Oh, why'd you know my name? Why'd you know her name? How did you know my name? I questioned. He smiled again. He apparently liked smiling when he was pleased with himself. Oh, I love this guy. Barbers hear gossip from around town, Miss Malone. Sometimes that gossip is worth remembering. And what gossip have you heard about me? I asked. Just that the niece of the late San Francisco detective Louis Malone had resigned from her policewoman duties and started a private detective agency. But that was months ago, was it not? I can't not say was it not in my own voice. I say that phrase way too often. That's because I'm so unsure about myself. But that was months ago, was it not? I confess I have not heard much else since. I asked if he'd known Louis. Not well enough, he said. I hear he did his job by the letter of the law, and I lost that alphabet years ago. Well, Miss Malone, will there be anything else? I want to hear more about this guy. Claims you don't. I mean, why would you tell her that you bootleg? Having someone else insist that it was all above board. I nodded at his furniture. Elegant trappings for a barber. Math was never my strong subject, but I can't see a barber making enough for all of this. He smiled. Yes, I have other methods of procuring wealth, but I do not engage in illicit activities, if that is your implication. Okay, I'll be on my way. Farewell. Ah, I love that transition. Burning paper. Maybe we'll throw the letter in a fire at some point. Well, we're waiting for a phone call at this place, so let's try it. Southern Coffee had the distinct feeling of basement mold, yeah. Hey, have I gotten a phone call? Any messages, Frankie? I asked him. And what do you mean by that? Well, I told Sam Shipman, an old contact on the force, to leave any dirt with you if he'd found it. Frankie laughed. So now I'm your bartender and your secretary. Say, if I become your housemaid, will you at least pay me? So I'm guessing you haven't heard anything, I said. Nothing yet, Miss Chief, Frankie chuckled. Shipman's supposed to call you about Green. What have you got so far? No real breaks to speak of, I said. Well, alright. I'll let you know if this shipman gives me a call. I thanked him. What else you got? Well... Haha. I pulled Green's letter from my pocket and showed it to Frankie. Still not sure what to make of that note? Frankie asked. In fact, I said, I do. It's a bust. Green was giving me the runaround. This letter is a fake. Frankie gasped. So why would Green hire you? I gave my shoulders a shrug. I still need to solve that part. Well, let me know if there's anything I can help you with. I don't think there's a whole lot else I can really, Oops, not, maybe. Do you know anything about his past? I still had no idea what to make of Green's past. Frankie shrugged. Perhaps something in Green's house could give you some hint, I asked. I agreed and thanked him for the advice. Yeah, the tickets! I turned, yeah, okay. What do you, show you the tickets. What do you have to say about these? Why are you going to St. Louis? I pointed to something in my oh, he doesn't care. Okay, never mind. Bye-bye.
You're my last ride for the day. After that, picking my girl and heading over to Tightwad Hill for the game.
Tightwad? What a name! I asked about Tightwad Hill.
You don't know much college ball, huh? That new stadium they built for Berkeley last year seats over 70,000. Marvel of modern construction. And the team ain't bad either.
That's Memorial Stadium, I said. It cost over $1 million to build it. How's it related to any hill?
Well, the geniuses built the stadium next to a large mound. Now why would I pay good money to get into the place when I can watch the whole game just fine from that hill? Seems others think that way too. So many of us, they dubbed it Tightwad Hill.
Oh, Tightwad as in penny pincher. The girls don't mind being outside?
You kidding me?
He laughed.
The flappers love it up there. We can picnic and drink some gin without being cramped onto wood benches. Suits both of us just fine.
Oh, this creepy old man chasing flappers. Well, I hope the home team takes it, I said as we stopped in front of my destination. He grinned.
Don't matter, it'll be a riot anyway.
I thanked him and stepped out. Yeah, that's how that's how sports should be. You know, it's a game, we're having fun. People get so, like, genuinely heated about sports, it scares me.
Well, Miss Malone, will there be anything else?
Yeah, do you know anything about these tickets?
I cannot see how this is relevant to anything I have said,
came his reply. Okay, well, a very polite way of telling me to go fuck myself.
Have you seen the 10 Commandments? There's this scene, okay, where Moses parts the sea and the Israelites walk through the part. I mean, they walk across completely, you hear? I don't mean in the story, but in the film itself. Just a group of actors in between mountains of water. It looks real. I melted in my sweet seat. How did they do it? And it has these colors, right? He continued. They're so vivid. The whole scene is blue when it's dark or orange when it's hopeful. I haven't seen anything like it.
Oh, we had color film? At this point? When was color film invented?
But it's strange. Less than half the film is about Moses. I mean, you call a thing the 10 Commandments, you expect it to be the old story. And it is, but there's a long stretch about these brothers John and Danny. And this John guy is greedy and Danny's nice. And of course, in the end, John gets what's coming to him. Weird way to tell the story, though. Anyhow, We're here, but you should really see this flick.
Considering how much he'd just told me about it, I felt I didn't need to see it anymore. I felt I didn't need to anymore. Ah, pain. Tea's too hot. I have a little baby mouth. Well, actually, I bypassed my mouth and just poured it right down my throat, so seared my esophagus real good. Am I stuck on a point and click? I better not be.